guys, it's Ryan for another tank wheels tutorial, and we're closing this off with this final tutorial that we are doing today. And check this out. So this is what we're going to be finishing off with, right? So here's my tank wheels, this is my rig. I can move backwards and forward, and you can see how well my tank is beautifully working together. All right, just imagine that this cube is the tank body, right? I'm not gonna, model the whole thing, but you can see if I go backwards and forward, and then watch this, rotate. When I rotate, you notice how the one wheel goes backwards and the other wheel goes forward, as it should happen. If you rotate a tank. Pretty awesome, eh? Pretty cool. Right, so let's do this rig. Let's get it over and done with. So now that I showed you what we're creating, I'm going back to this file. So this is where I left you guys off with the last tutorial, something like this. The first thing we're going to do is that we are going to, now I don't know if I did this in the last tutorial because it was last week, but from our observation I did. So we're going to parent everything basically to the curve. So I'm going to select, including this guy over here, my sphere, and I'm going to press Control or Command P. I'm going to keep transformation. So everything now is parented to this curve over here, which means that if I move it around, it moves with me. All right, cool. And then just to show you, so rotate X. Okay, that is whack. Right, that is not supposed to happen. Let's undo the parenting. But you know what? I think it's yes. That's probably why, because I've probably already parented everything already. Because well, there you go. All right, so everything is basically parented to my curve. All right, there's my curve right over there. That curve. Okay. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create another empty. I'm going to create a cube. And what I'm going to do with this cube is I'm going to take my sphere. I am going to unparent it because I'm going to actually parent that to clear parent to keep transformation. Then I'm going to select my empty, and I'm going to parent those guys together. You'll find out soon enough. And then when I take this guy and I take my curve, so now I'm going to parent the cube empty to the curve. Right, so then we've got this, so rotate X, you got the whole thing, right? Okay, and then now what we're going to do is that okay, so now what we're going to do is now this is the part where you drop in the whole tank body, so you've got all your wheels and stuff. All right, and so what I'm going to do is, just to represent the tank body, I'm going to have this guy over here, which is my curve. Okay, very cool, very nice cube, very nice cube. And I'm going to take that empty cube that I created, and I'm going to no, I'm lying. I'm going to take this curve over here, and I'm going to parent it to my tank body. Right, so that means from now on, whatever I do with this guy, right, will affect the rest of it. Now, what I need to say now is that what controls my location, right? Right now it is my tank body. What controls my the wheels movement? Well, it's the rotation of that guy over there. So rotate X, that's what happens. So what that means is then I need to put a constraint on there to say that when I move this back and forward, then that these guys are going to rotate, right? Correct? Okay, cool. So you guys know how to do this. So on the sphere, that little sphere in the beginning there, I am going to, no. Yes, you're going to put on a, so as we did before, a constraint and transformation. Right, and these over here are your settings, right? So first of all, you need to, okay, can I just name this guy up over here so we don't get confused? I'm going to call it actual tank body. So you guys know that is my tank body. It's not a cube, it's a tank body. It's representing your tank body. Okay, now I'm going to take my sphere and I'm going to target the tank body. and you're going to add the extrapolate. Now what this basically does, I found this out. So instead of us only working, so this y-axis over here, right? One side is plus y and the other one is minus y. And so when I rig this whole thing up here, it only works in plus. When the minute you move it over the red line, or any other line for that matter, it stops working. So that basically generalizes it. So target owner, that by default is on local. Then what you're going to do, so let's think about what we're doing here, right? You're going to map the tank body's location, that when I move it in y-axis, when I move it in y-axis, okay, you can see it's already working. But when I move my tank body in x-axis, then it's going to map that location data to the rotation of my sphere, because when my sphere rotates in x-axis, the wheels turn, right? So that's what I did. Okay, so what are the settings? Tank body, so location, I'm moving in the y-axis by 50 m, yes, 50 m, and 50 meters, and then I'm mapping that to rotation of the x rotation, Rx, the x rotation by 1 degrees, and you should get this. So when I move it in y, it moves. All right, now depending on the size of your wheels and the size of your the links, you're going to need to play around with this value over here. All right, this was my value that I found to work. It worked very nicely. Okay, right, so grabbing y, so that works very nicely. You can see I've gotten it looking extremely realistic. If you look at my actual chain here on this guy here, yeah, it looks great. It looks very accurate. You can't believe that that you can actually get something like this right, because that's your first reaction. You're like, oh, wow, this is so cool. Okay, so yes, moving right along. Now that we've got that ready, right, and I can understand, you can just say, all right, duplicate. All right, let's move on. Before we duplicate for the other wheel, all right, we're now going to do the rotation thing, because right now this is my control. So our rotation, and in z-axis, it's not going to rotate. So we're going to use the same thing that we did, that we've been using the transformation constraints to now set up the other. So where are we going to do that on? Well, remember, we have our sphere. Our sphere controls our rotation. But guess what? We have parented this sphere to what? To this empty, which means that, hey, look here, rotate x, which means that when I rotate this guy, it happens the exact. Now, why don't we just do that with the sphere? Well, I'm guessing because I've already got a transformation constraint on here already. So the empty is now for that. So let's go. With your empty, you're going to constraint. So let's do this. Now I don't have the other settings in here. If I want to, I can just go back to the other one, but I do remember it. So you're going to be targeting what? The tank body. And what exactly are you saying? You're saying, okay, you're going to add that guy on again. You're going to do the same thing here. You own it to local space. So what exactly are we saying? We're saying that by the rotation, because that's what I'm doing on this box, I'm rotating it in Z space, by the rotation of the tank body, all right, in Z space. Okay, over here you set your minimal to 56. Okay, you're going to locate that to this my empty cube's rotation as well, and you want to rotate in the x axis, and therefore you're going to set this guy, you're going to point it to the z axis of the tank body. Okay, and you're going to say maximum 1 degree. Right, let's see if this works. By the way, I find that if you don't change this guy over here, look at that, it is working. Okay, never mind, scratch that out. So you can see now, as I'm rotating, my tank wheels are rotating as well. Pretty cool, hey? You obviously just need to make sure that you get the rotation in the right direction. And how do you do that? Well, look at what the bottom wheels over here is doing. All right, if they have to move forward, if the bottom ones have to move forward, it's going to push the tank backwards. Right, so let's see if it's doing that. Rotate Z. Okay, I'm moving this way, and it's the bottom part is moving back, which means it should actually pull it forward. So that means we need to swap it around. So I go on my empty, I go to this over here. How do we swap direction around? Minus 56. Okay. Right, rotate Z. So now the bottom, when I rotate this one, the bottom is moving forward, which is right. That's absolutely right. Okay, great stuff. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is now we're going to do our duplication so that it does it on, we can have the wheels on the other side, does the same thing. So it is very important that now, but we're going to duplicate, right? And we're going to mirror it. So we grab everything, right? From, let me just show you here. We grab our curve, we grab our chain, we grab our two wheels. We need to grab that empty over there, plus the other empty, you know, the sphere. We've got everything. And now what you're going to do is you're going to say Shift D, and you're going to press escape. So we've duplicated, it's done. But just because I pressed escape doesn't mean I didn't duplicate it. There it is, there's my duplication over there. All right, see? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror it. Now it's very important that I make sure that my cursor is in the center. So hit Shift A, I'm lying, Shift S, and say cursor to world origin. And that is, of course, if you had been building in the center like this. If you had not, then you probably want to select your cube, this cube over here, and say cursor to selected instead. But then you got to go back and you got to make sure that you select your duplicate. So most probably you need to do that before you duplicate. If you have been building in the center of your world, you can continue. And now what we're going to do is go object. Now on a Mac, it's quite strange. What should happen if I press Command M? Yep, you look at your desktop. So I found that I just need to go object, mirror, and mirror in my X global. So because it's along that axis. If you've learned the colors, red is for X. So mirror, global X, right. Okay, if that's what's happened, just undo it. It's important that I come to this guy over here and I select my 3D cursor. There you go. Okay, let's try that again. Same thing, object, mirror, X global. Okay, there it is. And you've got your two wheels. Now, if I grab my tank and I move it, great, they are still working. Just one adjustment we need to make, so RZ, is you can see they are both rotating in the same direction. Now let's think about this again. If my tank is turning this way, then that means that this bottom part should be pushing forward, right? Rotate Z, okay, which it is not doing. This side I think is doing the right way, because this part should be pulling the tank this way, which means that it should be pulling backwards, right, which it's doing. So all I need to do now, if you look here in my collections panel over here, I've got my two curves, my original one and my duplicate. If I press Alt Z, it goes into X-ray mode. I'm going to be able to see exactly which curve I'm selecting. So this one was correct. This one was one that needed to be fixed. So let me drop down here. Let me go to my empty. I'm back in my constraints menu here. And how do you change direction? Just say remove the minus. So 56. Okay, let me grab my tank body here. Rotate Z. And there you go. Okay, now you can see they're starting to do something funny there. That's just because just come back here, bounding box, rotate Z. So there you go. And there is basically my tank. Okay, so now it's pretty cool. I can move forward, I can move backwards, and I can rotate Z. And you can see it's moving correctly. Pretty cool, hey? All right, so that ends my tank wheels series. All right, it's been a lot of fun. All right, was it technical? Yeah, in the beginning I was like, no, it's pretty simple. And then I realized, yeah, I mean, this guy needs to rotate. I mean, you know, there's a lot to it. So this is quite a nice rig up. Now, the interesting thing is that if you're a beginner, this is very exciting for you because, you know, we used to just animating and then it works and you got to do tricks and stuff. But you can see how nice this is going to be to animate, just to do some really cool stuff with it. I mean, you know, and it'll just work really nicely along with you with whatever animation you want to do. All right, so that was a very quick tutorial that has ended off our tank series. So we'll be definitely looking at something else next week, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm sure you've learned also a lot about constraints and how constraints work correctly. And yes, so I'll see you guys next week. From me, Ryan, signing out. Cheerio and cheers.